Hey everybody, this is Erman Barati, founder of the Entourage, also co-founder of the Film Empire. My colleague here, Brandon Waits, is the founder of HorrOrigins Film Festival, so please check him out for you horror lovers. Today we have someone very, very cool, Michael Shawver, editor of such films as Creed, Black Panther, the upcoming A Quiet Place 2. We've had him before with us for an interview in the past, so he's a great person to chat with. And we're going to dive right into his background and his career in film. So everyone give a quiet round of applause to Michael Shawver.
Thanks for having me, everybody.
How you doing, sir?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. And before we started recording, you spoke a little bit about keeping busy during the quarantine. So how have you been staying busy, creative? How you been staying proactive in your career during this time?
Well, fortunately, I just started a new job this week on a movie. I'm kind of stepping in and doing some additional work, and for about 6 to 8 weeks. So that's been great. I think coming off of A Quiet Place 2, I actually left New York on March 11th. So we had just finished that movie, and it was going to kind of be my downtime anyway. But luckily this came along, and it's fun. I think in a weird way, if this wasn't going on right now, I don't know if I would be doing this movie. You know what I mean? Because of how scarce things are, at this point in time. Just because, and it'll change. It's a downtime right now, but so it all worked out. It all worked out for the best. That I sort of had that, and then before that, the several weeks before, it's really just, for me, it's about having a routine, and doing something creative every day. I actually signed up for that. I guess this would be a plug, but that masterclass thing, that website where you can learn from all different filmmakers. Neil Gaiman's storytelling one was amazing, and there's a lot of, telling stories. I think there's even the Annie Leibovitz one, the way she just describes talking about photography and everything. I'm not a photographer, and I don't have really a passion. I love photography. I just don't have that sort of thing that drives me for it. But learning through other people's art forms, and how they see things and how they tell stories with what they do can be absorbed by us, I think, as filmmakers and as storytellers, to then kind of form it to our own work and our own projects, stuff like that.
Mike, you're doing great stuff. And I remember last time I chatted with you years ago, you had just finished, I think you're actually on Black Panther at the time, but you've done so much after that. You did, I think, Godzilla King of the Monsters, other great projects. So if we can go back just a little bit more, you started from film school. You went the film school route, like a lot of people do. Sometimes people don't go the film school route. So for you, if you can talk about your history in film school and what you learned there, and everyone has a different answer for this. So are you a proponent of film school? Because not everyone goes. So what do you feel about?
I think it's funny. I was having this conversation with a young filmmaker the other day, and basically asking me, should I do film school? Should I not? And it was the right thing for me. It obviously worked out, and the biggest thing that I got from USC was obviously relationships, and my relationship with Ryan Coogler, who we met in film school. But I don't think so. I've been kind of making movies with my friends since I was a teenager, stuff like that. And I always wanted to go to film school, and I wanted to go to film school for undergrad. And I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I got to kind of experience different things and learn a different discipline. And I studied human behavior, stuff like that, which actually turned out to be exactly what I needed to be an editor and a filmmaker, and sort of understanding people and the choices they make and everything. Because that has a lot to do with story. And so I had always wanted to go to film school, or just out to California. I wanted to direct, but you don't know, if you're not from, nowadays it's a little different, because I think the veil has been lifted about how things are made. But back then, you knew what a director was and an actor, and that's it. So those are the two things I wanted to be. And then I graduated college, and I worked in a restaurant, because I heard that's what you do when you come to LA. You get a job in a restaurant, and then you can do auditions or write your script or do whatever. But then I said, what? I want to learn. I want to learn how movies are made. I have no idea, and I want to learn from the best. So I Googled USC. Oh no, I googled best film schools in the country, and USC was number one. I was like, oh, George Lucas, Ron Howard, and these are all people that I look up to. And so I applied, and you know, I don't, somehow they let me in. I'm sure there were a lot of other capable people. And you know, when I was there, you know, I got to learn from the best. I got to use nice equipment, and I got to learn how to tell stories. But I was in a directing class, and this guy was just making these 5-10 minute short films, sometimes with no dialogue, and you'd want to cry at the end of them. And I just I something in, and I was the kind of guy that just sat in the back of the class until I was called on and didn't really say anything. But you know, something in my gut said, you gotta work with this guy. He's making the kind of stuff that you want to make. He's doing things that change people's perspectives, and really understands the power of story. And he's making things about a life experience that I knew nothing about. You know, him being a young black man from the Bay Area, and I'm a white guy from the Northeast. You know, there's just differences in how we were raised. But so I just went up to him one day and I said, hey, you know, I'd love to work with you. I don't know how. You know, I can edit a little bit. He's like, okay, yeah, we can. You know, let's see. And then so a couple months later, he got selected for a big project in the school, and I kind of threw my name in the hat and said, hey, I want you know, I'd love to edit this. And he had already kind of decided on other editors. And then it was actually, he needed a production designer, and he asked me if I knew how to production design. And I told him absolutely. And even though I had no idea how to production design. And so all night I panicked, didn't know what to do. And I figured it out. And that the next day, I was his production designer. I got everybody lunch. I helped light it. I basically did everything I could to help his vision come to life, just for a little class project. And then 2 days later, he chose me to be his editor for his project. And I think that, you know, the moral there is that I you know, I and I'm not saying I see all these opportunities everywhere, but I recognized that there was someone I wanted to work with who was making the similar kind of thing. We got along, you know what I mean, which is big. And then we were able to collaborate on that one project. But you know, I had nothing to do with editing. But he saw the work ethic, and he saw the fact that I was willing to do anything, get up early, stay up late, get up early, stay late, be the last one there with him. And you know, it was during Thanksgiving break when everybody else went home. So it said, I think it said a lot to him, and showed him that, okay, this is the path. And I think that relationship, because Ryan has fought for me and his team to be on his project, because, you know, it scares studios, which it should, if no one's ever made a feature or ever made a multi-million-dollar movie, and then coming in and you give him the reins, it's kind of tough. But you know, Ryan really put his neck out there for us, and refused money in early times to keep our team together and things like that. And I think, you know, with that said, I got that from film school. I think learning certain techniques from the professors and how great they were, and some of the world's best filmmakers who teach there, is insanely valuable. However, it is possible to get everything that I got not going to film school, because you can get, you know, sorry USC, but you can learn how to make movies. I mean, there's tutorials online. You can you know, you can take classes. If you you know, you could work a job, and then when you have enough money, go to a class at, you know, community college, because they're going to teach you the same basics. It's what you do with it, and it's the relationships you make. It's the people that you know, it's the people that you work with. And you know, my advice to people who maybe, you know, they don't want to go to school, they don't want to go down that route again, you know, find people. It's so easy to connect with people now. I mean, this is you know, case in point right here. But finding people, you know, not everybody wants to be a director, not everybody's a writer, not everybody's an editor, not everybody's an actor. And so if you can find the people who have that sort of those core, you know, even if they come from very different walks of life, that same sort of wavelength, you know, and you kind of feel that, and you know, then you go and you just make it. You make something, and now, you know, you could take a day to shoot it, a couple of days to edit it, do some sound, throw it on YouTube, and then you could just share it and get hits. And if it hits, then I mean, people are getting signed off of YouTube to agencies. I'm not saying that that's a normal thing, but you know, finding that core group of people. And then the other thing with that too is, you know, that relationship I have with Ryan, and these early relationships with directors, you know, we go through stuff together. It's not all fun and it's not all PG. Like it's you know, it's a creative collaboration. So you know, we all care so much that you know you can butt heads at times. Or I mean, I'll be honest. There was one time, I think it was on Creed, where I was freaking out about a deadline, and you know, I was worried because the studio was gonna. I thought they were gonna like fire us or something. I don't know. Um, and Ryan was like, "No, it's cool, man. You know, don't worry about it. Like, we'll figure it out." But I couldn't let it go, and I just kept holding on to it. And I was very anxious about it. And he just said, "Look, man, like you know, I know your job is hard, but my job is actually a lot harder. And you know, I need this editing room to be a space of positive energy and a place of creativity, and leave all that stuff in the you know like on the outside." And I just snapped out of it, and I said, "You're 100% right." And I think you know those little things, good or bad, build that relationship. So you know now in these bigger movies, like you know Ryan's you know doing what he's doing for Panther 2 right now, but you know because he's in that, I only talk to him maybe a couple times a year, but because we have that relationship, you know, as soon as we get back into it, it's back to you know it's back to usual business, you know, and that trust level's there. So I think you know, searching those people out, because you can, you know, if you need to learn about f-stops and stuff, you can find that information anywhere online. It's and even theory and stuff, but it's about that group. It's about that, you know, we're in a lot of ways we're in a business of relationships.
I love that. And you mentioned it earlier. It's not where you learn, but how you use the knowledge you did learn. So, and it's about cultivating relationships. So, like what we're doing right now, you know,
Mm-hmm.
meet each other face to face or online. You mentioned masterclass a few minutes ago. So that's like, you know, literally knowledge is everywhere if you actually look for it. So,
Right.
I have plenty more questions for you, but it looks like our chat is blowing up. So I'm gonna go back and forth between their questions and mine. So we're gonna have Federico, Tosh, then Giami on deck. Federico, you ready? Hey, Federico,
Hey,
can you hear
hey,
us? There you go.
yeah, I'm ready. Thank you. Okay, Michael, it's an honor and a pleasure.
Hey.
My question is, do you have any suggestion to which computer or laptop to edit 4K or for video editing in general?
I'm a Mac user. That's sort of how I learned. You know, I kind of came up with using that. I think you know that's an interesting question. So you know, obviously we're all on a budget, and we you know we want to look at stuff that's the most cost effective. I've worked with MacBook Pros, um, and as a laptop. I think you know like for example, I use Avid, and I always transcode down. So even if the footage is 4K, I'll be editing offline with like 36 you know DNX, because for me when I cut, I'm you know I keep the images in mind, and I keep the look in mind, but I'm also mostly focused on emotion and story, and characters and things like that. And for me, you know, the difference between, you know, I don't need to watch that in 4K. So with that said, you don't necessarily need to have 4K cutting capabilities, you know, unless you're talking about a client. Now, if you have a client that's like, I want to cut in 4K, I have to see this, you know, right here. That's kind of tough. But I recommend you know MacBook Pros, because you know I think with the systems that they have, it would have to, you'd have to be spending a pretty penny to, like, especially for a laptop with 4K. What's the nature? Is it for a specific thing, or just kind of like things coming up?
Well, because I recently got a Black Magic, and I was planning on doing some projects later this year, next year.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering, because my computer right now is a little bit slow with the
Right.
big file, the raw file. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's about, anytime I work with that kind of footage on my own systems, I've always transcoded it, all the footage, and then work with that, and then when you finish, you know, it links back to the full 4K.
Okay, so from 4K to what resolution?
Well, it depends on what you use. I use the codec I use is DNX 36 HD, which is an Avid codec. They have 36, 115, 175. And I don't really go above that because even a good system, it'll slow down if you get, you know, especially I work with 24 audio tracks, a lot of times, sometimes more depending on the scene. But well, that's sort of where it can get. So So, and you can definitely find that information out, depending on, if you do decide to go Windows or which editing program you use, that kind of thing. So,
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you.
yeah, thank you for the question.
Good to see you, Federico. Where are you right now, Federico?
I'm in Atlanta.
My man. Good to
Love
see
it,
you.
Yes, sir.
Up next, Tosh, Gilmy, Selly, then Presley. Tosh, you ready, man?
Yes, I am. Yeah, yo, what's good, Michael? Appreciate you for doing this, man. So, real quick,
Mhm.
you're going through all these films, and I make my own content. So I'm just curious, what is your process when it comes to cutting these large films, such as the two that's behind you right now?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. Well, to be honest, my daily routine is waking up and panicking, and praying that I figure out what the hell I'm going to do that day to make these scenes good and to keep my job. So there's always that level of kind of drive that comes from a place of I'd like to continue this job, so I want to do it. And so, but so when I have a scene, obviously you want to look at the macro and the micro. You want to, I believe that if you put the themes that are in the script and the themes that you've put in there, or the message, and you weave those into every single cut and every single take and every single thing, it'll come alive in the bigger picture. But as far as my process, I think the easiest way to put it is that I'm the first audience, and I think sometimes when I talk to a crowd, I ask everybody, raise your hand if you have good taste, and some people do, some people don't, but the truth is that taste is subjective. So it's all about how you feel about it, and I think for me, there's a fear in trusting yourself when you're working on a big movie that lots of people are going to see. But that is honestly the best way to get in there, because I have to believe that, because of my experience and just the shared human experience that we all have, that if something makes me laugh, something makes me cry, something makes me feel something, I'm going to save that and I'm going to try to use it and put it in the movie, because I got to believe that, when you go and sit down and pay your $15 or however much it's going to be when, we all go back to the movies, that you're going to laugh, that you're going to cry. So for example, if you've seen Black Panther, there's a scene where Killmonger and T'Challa meet for the first time in the courtroom. It's one of my favorite scenes I've ever worked on. And it was actually funny because that morning, I was working on a scene late the night before. It was one of the Warrior Falls, and 7 a.m, a producer called me and said, "Hey, so can you cut this scene by tomorrow morning, because we have to change the set because they're going to shoot Infinity War." And I'm like, first of all, this is like, they're shooting sequels at the same time, and like we're trading footage and stuff sometimes with scenes, which is amazing. But I said, yeah, of course. But then obviously I get the footage. I don't get the footage till about midway through the day, and there's about 8 hours of footage. And so it usually takes me, if I'm taking my time, it usually takes me, I don't know, maybe twice that time to like go through all the footage and take notes. But I didn't have that time, and I didn't know what to do. But this was such an important scene and such a turning point in the movie. So when I, after I sat down and kind of panicked and realized I couldn't really do my process, I went back and I just started thinking about the scene again, and thinking about whose scene it is, right? So it's T'Challa, right? Scene starts off, T'Challa's in there. He's trying to stop his family from finding out this information. And then Killmonger comes. So those are the two main people I'm looking at. But the thing is that, my first instinct, okay, I'll start the top of the scene. I'll start with a wider shot, show the place, to hear them talking, then cut in, kind of start there, and then work from there. But there was about 20 different wide shots. So then I got kind of caught up in that. What I ended up doing was just sitting back and watching all the footage. And the first line that made me laugh was when Killmonger says, "Hey, Auntie." That line, that reading, and obviously like there's 20 different angles, 20 different performances, and it's Mike, so he's going to give us great stuff that's bigger, smaller, whatever. But that one shot, for whatever reason, just made me laugh. It made me laugh out loud, and I said, that's it. You know what I mean? I got to start right there. So I took that shot and I laid that down. I said, okay, what's next? So he's addressing Ramonda, and he basically like made a joke about her whole life just being alive. And so I need to cut to her. So then what shot do I use next? Okay, there's a close up of her, wide shot of her, medium shot of her. And I chose a shot where Killmonger's in the frame, where Killmonger's dirty in the frame, because he's literally in her world now and kind of invading her frame. And so I do, when making these decisions, now, was it the right decision? I think the moment worked. So I think so. There's a gazillion, infinite amount of ways that you can cut anything. So how do you, what do you go with? Well, if you make yourself laugh, if you scare yourself. On A Quiet Place, I know the crowd's going to jump at some points, because I jumped every time. Because when you hit a certain level of taste, that when you're like, yeah, this is what I set out to make, trusting in yourself and trusting in your own, audienceship, is one of the hardest things to do, because you have to take yourself out, and you have, because, I'm sure when you make your own content, the more times you watch it, the more times you're like, yeah, that's working. You need to, it's tough to kind of make that switch and take a step back and see it with fresh eyes. The other thing too is, you say you make a lot of stuff yourself, which is great. But if you don't, I would definitely recommend finding people you trust to give you feedback, because one of the most important things I ever learned in film school and throughout my career, that I'm so grateful I did, is how to give and take notes. Because your goal is eventually to make bigger projects and work with more people and all that stuff. And we put so much of our self-worth and ourselves into these projects. We could love it to death, but then someone would be like, yeah, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that. And that hurts a lot. So getting used to that process of, because these movies should have a singular vision, but they should be digestible by everybody, and they should affect everybody. And I think no matter who they are, could be actually sometimes random people, a cousin, somebody who doesn't even know will call out something that's great. So keeping that singular vision, that place that when you make something, you cut it and you watch it back, you're like, that's great. You know what I mean? That's sort of your barometer. But also don't be afraid to reach out to people. I still bring film professors from college, like Ryan and I had a lot of the same professors, so we brought them in to watch the first cut of Black Panther before the studio even saw the movie, to be like, tell us what we're doing, please. Like, we think we have something decent, but they're gonna see stuff that we didn't even do. So I think it's that balance.
All right, that's cool. So just 'cause I'm curious, so the scene where Killmonger hops on the throne, and you see how the angle goes from backwards to slowly. Wait, was that like a shoot? Was that from shooting? Was that you?
They shot that. Ryan shot that, but he also shot 20 different entrances, and so for that like of just different angles. Some were wide, some were close, some walked behind him. Which is a style we use in Creed a lot and Fruitvale. And so we went back and forth, because we actually for a while used a shot that didn't flip upside down, because we kind of went at it with this, is that too on the nose? Okay, the world's upside down, the camera's upside down, is that too much? And then but it's such a dope shot that, like, at the end of the day, like, because and the things that I've learned throughout my career, like, there's it's this journey from what I learned in film school, and like, this is how things not should be, but like, this is the best way to do things, or this is how things are, and this is a traditional way of doing things. And like, that's great, but we all just can't do the same thing, right? We got to try, we got to stick our neck out, we got to try to be innovative. And the thing that I learned, and I actually learned this really a lot from John Krasinski, is that he lives by the old Spielberg thing of like, look, I'm going to make a good movie, and you're going to like it, it's going to be a good story, it's going to be technically great, but you're also going to enjoy the hell out of it. And our job, like, we want to make serious things, we want to implement change, but we also got to be entertained, we also got to entertain people. And I think the best way to teach lessons is through that veil of fun and entertainment. And so, like, a lot of those themes that were in Black Panther that are very real themes, are kind of exaggerated with shots like that. And I think having fun and going for it and being different and trying to push the medium to a better place and have more fun, I think is the best way to go. That's the thing, a lot of people forget how to have fun in this industry, which I really like. We do this because we love to do it, and people kind of lose sight of that, I think, you know, and I think we it's all important for us to remember that, you know, we should enjoy what we do.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. And Michael, appreciate you. Keep making these fire films, bro.
All right,
Like
man.
you got a fan here.
Thank you, Tosh. Always good to see you, my man. Up next, sorry if I butcher your name. Up next, we have Guilherme from New Zealand. So Guilherme, you're up, followed by Sally, Presley, then Courtney.
Hi guys. I'm Michael. Nice to meet you. Thanks for doing that. Well, actually, Tash asked a great question that was pretty much the same as mine. So I'm just gonna maybe more details. Just the way you work, with the way you edit, do you find yourself more like a methodist or like more following your instinct and stuff like that?
You know, that's a really good question. Thank you. You know, when I first started, I was very sort of like intellectual, like, why is this cut? Why are we cutting on this frame and not this frame? And everything has to be intellectualized and tell a story. And my co-editor at the time, this is on Fruitvale, Claudia, she was way more on the opposite side. She's from Brazil, and just very like passionate, feel like, and I would ask her, you know, why did you cut from there? Then she said, I don't know, I just felt it. And we kind of butt heads at times. But she taught me a very valuable lesson that sometimes you just can't explain. I mean, you know, they call it movie magic, and there's truth in the sense that, you know, for example, editing. I say this, and I'm like 99% sure it's true. Is that editing is the only filmmaking discipline that didn't exist before filmmaking, because there was acting, there was directing, there was, you know, art, production design for plays, stuff like that. But taking moving images and putting it all together, and what is that, you know, what does that mean, and what does that do? There's stuff that, you know, we all know about the happy accidents that happen when we accidentally, you know, insert this clip in, and you're like, wait, hey, somehow that works, and you just can't explain it. You know, and the other thing too is when, you know, I could cut a scene for a specific reason, for reason A, and then someone who watches it sees it and feels reason Z that I never even thought of. And so there's that communication, you know, that we have as filmmakers with the audience, that should be sort of a live, you know, symbiotic back and forth. You know, that to me, the energy in a movie is the energy between the characters on the screen, and the energy between the audience and the movie. And with those, I guess, multiple quadrants you have, that those all play off each other in sort of a 3D graph. I'm getting really complicated with the way my mind works. But with all that said, you know, I think you could overanalyze and overthink things all day, but if something works, it just works. And so I think throughout the course of my career, I've learned that, you know, if something's working, you don't necessarily, you question it, but don't, if you can't answer the question, but it still works and still feels good, I think you have to do it. And you know, I think the nice thing, you know, there's no hard and fast answer. I sort of, and I'm still finding it too. I'm still finding it for myself of where to live in there. But, you know, and I think the best thing is, like, but you know, if you look at movies, you look at, there are movies that you can tell are cut very informationally and very kind of straightforward, and it works for that. Maybe it's a period piece, maybe it's supposed to feel like that. And then there are other ones that are, it looks like there's no rhyme or reason, but it just makes you feel something. So I think what's great about that is that every project can be different, you know, and I think the important thing is knowing when to use it and when not to use it. And I think in general, when it comes to more exposition scenes or information that the audience needs to know, doing it more mentally, you know, for example, one character is talking about another character and they say a line that's going to affect the character's emotion, I'm mentally going to say, okay, on that line, I'm cutting to that next person to see their reaction. And more times than not, I feel that person's reaction. So that's sort of the hybrid of the two. But when I do an action scene, you know, I'm not really going to overthink people getting punched in the face or riding rhinos. You know what I mean? So that's about like excitement and fun and feeling and you know, but again, there's still some of that intellectual, you know, work of seeing, you know, even if it's a quick cut, seeing somebody grab a weapon, because we need to see that information. If you don't see where the guy grabbed the weapon, maybe it's part of it. Maybe it's part of it, just the guy comes out of nowhere. But a lot of times you want to, you know, build and build breadcrumbs and lead to different things. So I think it's you know, and then at that point you start bringing pacing in too. You know, pacing is another level of pacing is all feeling, you know, for the most part. And unless you're doing things too fast and information is just flying over people's heads, which is definitely not good. But yeah, pacing is a lot with feeling. So it's, you know, I know it's kind of a complicated answer to the question, but it lives somewhere on the spectrum for not just every different movie, but for every different scene, every different moment, to be honest.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot. That was pretty good. Cheers.
Good to see you, man. Thanks so much for tuning in from New Zealand, from across the world. Up next, we have Sally, followed by Presley, then Courtney. Sally, you're up.
Oh, hi, Michael. Hi, guys. Thank you for being here. This is really inspirational. So I'm an actor, writer, producer. I don't know much about the world of an editor, and I respect your work so much. I think you've done phenomenal work, and it's something I find very, very challenging and so important for filmmaking. So my question is, how do you choose your projects now that you may be in a position of being able to choose, if that's the case? And do you have a favorite genre? Lastly, do you prefer editing alone, or you're cool with editing in a team? Just would love to get a bit more insight about the process.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna write down those 3 things so I don't forget.
Thank you.
Cool. So yeah. So as far as well, thank you for your question. So as far as a project, I think the two things that I ask myself are, can I bring something to this project?
Yeah.
And can this project bring something to me? And you know, I need to have sort of a relationship. So my, you know, my days, like on a big movie, are typically, you know, depending on the size of the team and the budget, will be mostly 12-hour days, sometimes 5 to 6 days, 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week. So, you know, I'm living with this thing. I have a very intimate relationship with the project, and I need to know every frame in and out, and what to do. So if I'm doing something that's not, that doesn't speak to me, and I not just in the sense that it's a movie about, I'll give you an example. So I think after I had done 2 features, and I got a script, and it was about a middle-aged mom whose husband leaves, and she's trying to, you know, put her life back together, pick up the pieces. Her dad's sick and all this stuff. And I read the script, and it was good, but it wasn't for me. And it's not that it was about someone who wasn't, you know, a late 20s something white male. It was because I couldn't take my own life experiences and put it into those characters. Like I couldn't find, I couldn't bridge that gap for myself, and I turned the job down. The agent who was trying to sign me at the time, I told her, I said, I don't want to do the movie, and she said, no, you should do it, you really do. And I didn't know at the time. I didn't, you know, I was still navigating my world, trying to figure out which way was up. And so I met, and they liked me, and they hired me, and then I ended up getting fired 2 weeks later. And
so it was your instinct and an honest approach. Wow.
Yep, 100%. But that was the big lesson I learned. So after that, you know, and yes, it's actually like, it's one of the best things ever to be able to choose, you know, choose a project, and you know, I've recently done that. But you know, I think and you know, for things like Black Panther, you know, I found something, you know, a way, kind of a backwards way of like using myself as the audience of, okay, how can I relate, how can I relate a person who has my life experiences with an African king who's also a superhero?
Yeah.
And I think but what was in the script that I love, and I know, and Ryan always puts in the scripts, is that family dynamic. And if you've ever seen the movie, one of my favorite scenes is when he lands at the palace, he comes back home, and we just saw him beating up 20, 30 bad guys. And he goes and he sees his mom and his little sister, and he needs his mom to console him because his dad just died. And
Yeah.
his sister is making fun of him that he got nervous around his ex-girlfriend. Like, that's the stuff that we relate to. You know what I mean? It's
Totally.
not the guns and the battles and all things like that. It's that kind of thing. And so
it's not a genre related necessarily. It's more the story, if you connect to the story.
Right.
Yeah.
And for A Quiet Place too, you know, my first conversation with John, and actually my mom told me about A Quiet Place. I was working and I didn't see. She's like, you got to see it. I'm like, wait, you watch that movie? You don't watch horror movies. and she said, but it's not. It's about a family. It's about survival. And I was like, And then when I talked to John in our first and only interview, I was like, it's about a family. It's a movie about a family. It's about what would you do for your kids. It's about you know, what would you do for your siblings, like, and do you sacrifice yourself so they can live, you know, and all these things that we all think about, whether you have kids or not, or what's our legacy and what we do. That's the thing. Now on the other, as far as the genre part, yeah, there's absolutely, I mean, I would comedy's hard, but comedy is the most fun when it's working, because you laugh, you know. Horror is fun, but there's a level, you know, and kind of going back to what I said before about spending so much time with these projects and having these relationships with it, is that, you know, like, I turned down a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie because,
oh wow.
because I can't watch that every single day, every single night. It starts to invade
Bloody.
my mind. So as far as the overall thing, I mean, I would love to do a straight sci-fi. You know, for me, this industry kind of puts people in a box. You know,
True.
And in life too. You know, it's, you know, we've always tried to define things we don't understand or don't know, and it's very hard for people to kind of let things be. And for some reason, they can't wrap their heads with that one person can do multiple things. And another lesson early on, you know, I wanted to do this comedy. But they said, oh no, you've never done comedy, so we're not going to hire you.
Oh God.
Like, but I have before. I know, I think I have a decent sense of humor, but so I get it. So from then on, it wasn't always it's not a main thing that I used to choose, but if you know, there are two movies that are equal, and one's a comedy and one's a heavy drama, and all the other characteristics of them are the same, I would probably pick the comedy. The big one I want to do now, just because I have a my son's about to turn 4. I want to do a kids movie.
That's nice.
Because he can't see any of my movies right now. I mean, he can, but I wouldn't. You know, I'm not going to show him Black Panther. You know, for at least.
Do you ever see yourself editing TV shows, or, because I know that's a different beast, and I don't know if usually one editor stays on for, let's say, 5 seasons. Or mainly movies, since that's more quick, I'm guessing, project to project.
Right. Yeah. So TV. I would absolutely do TV. I think there are different levels of TV. I think, you know, maybe 6-7 years ago, I'd be like, okay, just maybe HBO. And it's not. I don't have anything against TV. It's gotta be right. And I think there's a couple different factors. One is the fact that like, I know this may sound kind of weird, but I still don't really feel like I know what I'm doing. I do, like, I know I kind of do, but like, I know I'm
That's
always
humble.
What's up? What's that?
I said that's humble. Okay.
Well, no, but totally, like, you know, because every project's different, and I think that, you know, I think we're always learning, we're always trying stuff, and, you know, I'm still, I would say I'm around the 50% knowing what I'm doing on a movie right now, and I think that other 50% is also in my mind, you know, how can we push things? You know, editing has been around for a while. How do we kind of push, you know, filmmaking and stuff like that? With that said, though, I like TV. I'm a fan of TV, and I think in the right, you know, on the right show, the thing that speaks to me, you know, I would prefer to get in early on a TV show and work on a pilot or something like that, because, you know, that I'll help set the style and the tone for the show.
Yeah.
My imprint on the show will be, will be there.
Makes
as long
sense.
as long as the show, and then committing to something for that long. If a movie comes along, if I'm I know Ryan Ryan has Black Panther 2 coming up at some point. So my commitments, like I don't want to not do that. So
Of course.
there's a
Yeah.
little bit of that kind of.
Cool. Thank you so much. This was really insightful. Working on projects and stuff like that, and I don't know much about an editor's world. So this was really insightful. I feel like I learned a lot. Thank you so much. And yeah, best of luck to you.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sally. Always good to see you, girl. We're going to do Presley, Courtney,
Good to
then
see you.
Inian.
Hey, Ermin. Can you hear me? Yeah, cool. Hey, thanks for setting this up. Hey, Michael, as an editor, what's the single largest problem do you see when the coverage is delivered? Like, what do you find most commonly missing?
That's a good question. Tight eye lines. So it all depends. It all depends on the thing. But for me, obviously, like I think the simple answer is inserts. There's a lot of times there are inserts that we need of somebody the audience has to know what somebody's looking at in order to tell a story. And so that happens. The thing is those can get, you can, I mean, I've shot stuff in the editing room on a camera that we put into the movie of a hand grabbing something, right? Like you can basically have a mini movie studio right now and get that stuff going. And so the reason I talk about tight eye lines is because that stuff, when you're working on a movie with these big actors, like you can't just say, hey, can we come back and shoot this whole scene again? Like, so for me, the tighter the camera gets to the eye line, the more intense it is, and the more emotional it can be. And so, if I'm looking this way, you're on the side, it's kind of a normal conversation. But if I'm looking right into here, that's far more intense. And so I want those options. And I don't, the traditional way to cut a scene, to shoot a scene coverage, is you do a wide shot, then cut to the mediums, and then or cowboys, and then closer, and then maybe back out wide again, or leave it in close off a look. But you can't cut every single scene that way in a movie. Every scene needs to have its own shape, and that shape is based on the energies passed between the characters and the subtext, not just the word. The words are all live. But I think having someone find out a devastating piece of information and then just seeing a profile and maybe one eye is not going to make the audience go, oh, like, oh wow, but if the eye line is straight down the pipe and it looks like you're staring into the audience's soul, that's something that, like, you've connected that audience and the movie on a level that's greater than other angles. So it's funny because almost every movie I do, it's like, and when I see a director giving me those eye lines, and I want options. I mean, that's the biggest thing, but it's options in the sense of not just wide, close, whatever. It's options as far as how much we want to push emotions in this scene. And the other thing is just having more than one option. Even if you got to do it really quick, just shooting a couple different things and just to have, because you never really know, what you're gonna do. So I'd say those tight eye lines for me.
So the less is more, not a good philosophy.
You know what? I'd say most times not. But I'll give you an example of when it really worked out. And it was on Creed, and it was a 4.5 minute fight. There were no cuts, and I got the footage, and there were no cutaways. It was just 17 takes of this fight and no coverage to cut to. And I obviously was like, "What? This better work, buddy. Like, you better figure it out." But the thing is, the fact that we knew, like, he had decided not to get coverage on it. Everybody on that team knew that it was go time. like everybody from actors to the camera operators. Like our camera operator took boxing and ballet classes to do the dance of the box basically with them, and keep it fluid and catch every punch and make all the impacts and stuff. So everybody did it on that, and it came out amazing. When you have dialogue scenes and stuff like that. Now, if you have a scene you're like, look, I just want to play this in a wide, that's fine. But I'd still like to get coverage, because you never know. You never know. I mean, it's a slippery slope, but get what you can get. I'd say that editor would be happy.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Presley. Good to see you, man. Well, ECU, virtually see you.
Thanks, man.
We're gonna go ahead and do Courtney next, followed by Inian.
Hello, can you guys see me? Oh, you see me.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for sharing your time with us, and I hope you're healthy and safe and all of that during this time. So I'm a student in 508 at USC right now, but we're filming in the fall because of COVID. So like I'm not able to film. I'm P3. But I just have a question about shooting short films, and like, what's your advice for students shooting shorts? And then what was your process like going into features? Like, what was that transition like for you?
So as far as shorts, and I didn't listen to this either when I did my thesis, is that, you want to aim for really great 5 to 10 minute thing. I know in the classes it's like, okay, this is 5 minutes, this is 7, but I think more in terms of when you're out of the class, when you're doing your stuff on your own, or you do your thesis and everything, and then continue to make shorts. I think, and this is not just shorts. I think this is everything. I think just simplify, right? Just simplify. So many times, and I was the main person with this. My 508 was like a crime drama about mines, that like had 30 different locations and all this stuff. Yeah, and I was just like, we gotta get it all. And then what happens? I got a 15-minute cut, and then I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Because I don't want to fail the class. And so I think just simplify. Like I think a short, there's only so much you can do, and you're not going to make an epic movie with it. So what is something that what is you also kind of want to have a bit of exploration yourself, right? Like now, if you have like a stone cold story, you're like, this is what I have, this is what happened to me, this is verbatim, blah blah blah. I want to show you this and let you experience it. Great. But I think taking something that's been on your mind, right? Or I'll give you an example. My thesis film was about women in prison, drug traffickers in prison, and I thought of it because I was driving and I saw this woman carrying all these bags, and like that looked way too heavy for her, and didn't, and I'm like, what? And it was a hot day, and I was thinking, what is her life situation right now, where she has to do this, she has to do this work, and this is tough, and people aren't helping her. And then I started to think about, what if, what is it like to have, what if she has family somewhere else and she's trying to do, what would it be like for that? So that was kind of the question for myself, that then the story came out of, and it was, and through that exploration, I was able to, I searched for the truth. And I think that's what I think, when you have a simple life thing that people can relate to, and then you just look at it in an honest way, I think it's good. And it could be about a crime movie about mines. You know what I mean? That's the great thing about filmmaking, is you can kind of do that. But do I wish that I simplified my stuff? Absolutely. And I learned that on features too, every day. It's, in the scripts, like we think, oh, that's so cool, like they're going to do this, and then the plot goes like this, and then it's going to be a twist like this, and then you put the movie together and you're watching, and you're like, why did I make that so complicated? Why didn't I just have one line where he said that, and like let it play it a different way? I think the jump from shorts to features, for me, a lot of the techniques within scenes, within sequences apply. But then with the feature, you have to have the whole worldview of the movie. You always, and as an editor especially, we're the gatekeeper of the movie, right? We you know, I admittedly get, one of the more frustrating things for me in my job is when if I find out that there's something different in the cut that I don't know about, because like that's my cut. Like I'm the one who guards the door of this thing, and I'm not saying like I have to be. I just, somebody needs to do it, because we can't have a random shot that we don't want and then wait, what just happened. And so, you know, keeping those, like I was saying before, those overall themes, you know, but they honestly, they're bigger. I know that's really the easy thing, because you do in a short, like, you know, if you're talking about experimental shorts, it's different. But if you want a narrative, like kind of a mini little 3-act thing or 2, you know, whatever, it's movies are just are you know, they're bigger, but you have to, you know, it's interesting that I started actually studying more about writing and storytelling after I started editing, because knowing, you know, if you take writing classes, that's something you kind of know the structure, but knowing that like this is, at this point of the movie, you want to feel this, you know what I mean? At this point, you want to feel this is a big moment, and let's kind of play with that. So in a lot of ways, it's just more. In a lot of ways, you know, it's yeah, it's just, it's tough. It's just different. You just kind of take those seeds that you learn and expand from there.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you said you did your thesis on like a woman in prison. I'm doing my 508 on a man who gets out of prison and applies for a job.
Oh, wow.
And then it comes across the question of felonies. So just like a 5-minute scene.
That sounds great.
So that's so interesting that you did that for your thesis. And
yeah.
then also, I don't know if you remember Ren Claire, but she talks about y'all. Like she talks about y'all all the time. Yeah. She loves you guys.
Yeah.
But thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. Where are you from, Courtney?
I'm from Detroit, but like I'm in LA right now. I'm
okay.
stuck here. So
you're stuck there.
yeah, they canceled my flight back home. So
oh no. Yeah. Oh no. Well, stay safe.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Inian. Inian, can you hear us?
Yes. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, sir. This is Inian from India.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you. Thank you for your time, sir. If you can please share your thought about the relationship between the tool and the technique involved in the process.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Interesting question. That's a good one. Yeah. So, I mean, my general ideas, as far as, you know, what tool you use versus, you know, technique. For me, the tool matters much less than the thought behind it. You know, I think if you look at the early, you know, the early stages of editing before nonlinear systems and computers and software, there's a lot of thought put into it. There was a lot of time and discussion and saying, okay, why are we doing this? And sort of kind of going into our you know, conversation you know, earlier, but you know, thinking and feeling and taking time and patience has kind of been lost with technology in a way, because
Yes.
you know, and I do it myself. You know, you have all these tools, and I think people, for me at least, may kind of think, okay, the tool is what's going to get me there. The tool is what's going to get me there. But I mean, to be honest with you, there's you know, obviously if you're talking about like, you know, VFX and certain things and workflows like that, then the tool is important. You know, I use Avid Media Composer and stuff like that. But I mean, if you want to just talk about simple basic editing with sound effects and music, I could do the same thing in Avid that on iMovie. You know what I mean? But the thing that's important is, why am I doing this? Is it you know, the thought comes first, the idea comes first, the desired result comes first of, okay, this is a, you know, a simple thing. This is a scary moment. You know, how do I do this? Okay, so I set this up. We know there's danger in the room. Then we stretch it out to leave that tension long. And then at that last moment like a little bit off rhythm to the human natural rhythm, we hit them with a big scare, you know, and then they're going to jump. It's going to throw them off. That I could really do anywhere. And then, you know, then once I had that idea and know what I actually want to do, then I have the tools to do it. And so, you know, that to me is sort of where I come from. You know,
And can it be vice versa, sir? If we know the tool better, can we execute better?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think, you know, and I think, well, so as far as tools, you know, for me, I absolutely try to learn a new tool when I'm on a project. Depending on how busy I am, I'll learn a new thing once a week, and try to use that same one every day. And yes, 100%. And so to speak to that, to like, I'm actually using the tool. Like I learned in film school from the professor that was previously mentioned, Ryan Claire. She told me use the keyboard. Just learn the keyboard, map your keys, and do that. And what that has allowed me to do is I'm fast now. I'm really, really fast. And I'll use the mouse. I'll use the mouse to go to the menus and to, you know, do the things that I have to do with the mouse. But if I can map a keyboard and save myself those 3 or 4 seconds. And so in my line of work, when I'm you know, I'm in that editing room and I got the director and 3 producers and maybe an actor in there, and they're like, hey, try this, you know, if I can take 2 minutes and cut something together really quick, as opposed to taking my time and not really knowing the tools. So yes, 100% knowing the tools is extremely important. But you know, for me, it's using them in an actual cutting, you know, rhythm section, because whenever there's a new thing you try to learn, at least for me, it always slows me down, and I always say, wait, what is this? And so taking that time to know the tool. So for me, yes, knowing that there's a tool that you know, you could push 1 button instead of 3, 100% always will take that route every time. And you know, yeah, does that answer?
Yes, thank you very much, sir. I got it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ian. Good to see you, sir. We're going to do Brian, then Rod, and I think we're going to wrap it up after that. So let's go ahead and do Brian next.
Hi, Michael. Or is it Mike? Do you prefer?
No, whatever you feel like.
All right, cool. Hi, Michael. Nice to meet you.
Me too.
Sorry about that. No, I just had a question, you know, in talking about, you know, as you were building your relationship more with Ryan, like, you know, he'd seen you, you knew him, and everything, but, you know, when it came to telling stories about communities that, you know, he thought, you know, you might not know this as much. I do that a lot. So I'm a disabled veteran, but I do a lot of inclusion and diversity across the board. So I identify as a white, straight male ally, but I'm always working with, you know, minorities, LGBTQ, you know, other areas of inclusion and diversity. But that same thing happens to me all the time. You know, it takes a minute for them to be like, all right, we see that you actually care about these things. You're not just, you know, et cetera. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think it's really a really great topic that I appreciate you sharing about, because a lot of times people don't always say, like, you know, I'd rather, like, I'm in a program right now at CBS, and I'm being considered to be a writer on a project. But at the same time, the guy said, you know, I kind of really want a woman, or I want someone that comes from this community. And so I've sold myself really well. And I think I'm being considered very much, but that's really been one of the things, is I'm not from that community.
Right.
So I just kind of like to hear from you.
No, that's a really great question. I think, you know, I think when it comes to topics like this, it's, you know, sometimes it's tough for people to just to breeze and talk about, you know, and bring it up, because people, you know, it can get tricky. And I think, you know, so as in terms of specifically with my relationship with Ryan, I'll give you you know, an example or two. But you know, there was a scene in Fruitvale Station where Michael B. Jordan's character says something about how he never believed his teachers growing up, because they said he could be anything he wanted to be, even the president. And he looked up at the poster of the presidents, and none of them looked like him. And that's why he didn't believe them. And I remember sitting there in front of the computer, and after watching, you know, going through that, I think that was added when they shot. So I saw the footage, and I called Ryan. I said, is that real? Like, did you really feel that way? And he said, yeah, absolutely, bro. And I'm like, what? Like that moment completely changed my life. like completely changed my world. And I think, you know, for me, it put me on a path of there's so much I don't know and don't understand, and I've been privileged. And on the other hand, that moment, you know, proved, I think Ryan felt this about me because like our earlier projects, but I would ask questions. You know, I come from a place of I don't know. I'm like, I act like I'm the least smart person in the room, and I can learn everything. And I kind of took that with me. And so Ryan being there with that realization and kind of seeing, or the fact that when he told me that, you know, he has to worry about police all the time, you know, driving and stuff like that. And that's a real thing when I never think about that, you know, really, unless I'm going too fast. And so starting that journey of understanding his walk of life, and the fact that I was willing to have these conversations, kind of like we're having now, of you know what, let's we need to celebrate differences and stuff like that. So as far as our teams, you know, Ryan, like I've said this before, I'll go on record again. He's the greatest human being I've ever met in my life. Like there's a level of enlightenment to that guy that I don't know where it came from, or he's just like it's incredible. And he cares more about the people who work on the movies than the movies itself. And I think when you watch his movies, you can feel that because he cares about humanity, he cares about the truth, he cares about things like that. He also believes that I kind of hit on this earlier, is that, you know, these movies are for everybody. These movies should be inclusive. Right? They shouldn't make anybody feel like, oh, you can see this movie, you can't see that movie, and dictate that. So, you know, how do you make a movie about an African king, or a kid, you know, a kid from LA who wants to be a boxer? How do you you know, relate that to people? And a lot of it's in the script, but I mean, we would, you know, for example, with Ryan's movies, he always wants a male editor and a female editor because of how much input we have as storytellers. We want to, you know, have both of those perspectives. And, you know, there's a scene in Panther between Okoye and Nakia, which Denai Guerrero's character and Lupita's character, and they're talking about what to do after T'Challa, spoiler, dies. They're arguing. I remember going in and I'm thinking, like, this scene needs to be a little more. And I went in, I looked in the footage, and I did it. And Ryan and I felt really good about it. But we said, you know what, let's just get every woman who's free right now, who's not busy on something, to come in and watch this new cut. And we had about 15 women in there. And it was really interesting because about half said, oh, it's better, I love it. But then the other half was like, no, see, that character, I liked her so much better in the other version. Like, she's not as strong in this one. And it's something that Ryan and I never, ever, ever would have felt, ever. And what's interesting is that, you know, we ended up working through it and got to a place where both sides were like, yes, she's strong and it's two strong women together. You know, and Debbie, my co-editor, you know, on that, she was involved in that conversation too, of course. I mean, even down to we were doing color correction, you know, with Kevin Feige and all the execs. And there's a shot in South Korea, and one of our VFX PAs was from South Korea. And we had a question, does this look too polluted? We don't want to show this place looking like with green smog, because that's just a B-roll shot we found, if that doesn't represent it. And so we brought her in, and she was kind of like, what is going on? But she sat down on the big comfy chair and said, look, like, yeah, you know, it doesn't look that polluted all the time. I go, wow, we want to represent, you know, and it all does come down to the fact that these things, you should feel like no matter what you went through or what you're going to go through after you leave the movie, that you're all in it together, you know, with people. And you can't, you know, there's certain limitations that you have, you know, as far as your life experience and what you can see and know. And I think celebrating the differences and not being quick to judge, and coming together to do that, it has to be what it is if you want to make things that touch the most people.
I appreciate that so much. Yeah, I met Ryan at the Writers Guild Awards about a year ago. We talked for a bit, and then I've met Michael B like 5 times. I had a meeting over at Outlier this past year, and that's talking about this head of development. We talk about that a lot, where it's like, you know, he does want to champion You know, a lot of people in the Black community, he wants to do anything, but it's like, you know, just because I'm a white male doesn't mean like it's like, nah, we don't want to have the conversation with you. I do this every day of my life, like. So I really appreciate it, and I really have a lot of admiration that you could connect those dots there too. So.
All right, man. Well, thank you. I really appreciate the question. I think it's a good one to ask.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Brian. Last but not least, we have Rod. Rod, you're up.
Thank you. How are you doing? Thank you, Michael, for being with us. I wanted to ask you if there's a moment when you really decided to be an editor, like you like the whole process, I guess, like filmmaking, but then you decided to be an editor. Is there that moment that you just let yourself go with that? And also, although I mean, every person has a different path. If you had for someone who wants to build a career as an editor, if you have some kind of advice or, I don't know, that's follow. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for your question. So, so for me, that's a really interesting question about the moment of being editor, because it was the moment that I became an editor was when I was in school and Ryan called me and said, "Hey, I'm doing a movie called Fruitvale. Do you want to be my editor?" And I was like, "Yeah." Well, I don't understand why you even asked me that question. So that was that, and then that started this you know, that professional, you know, thing. But in retrospect, I can pinpoint certain moments in my life that had I had the sight, whatever, the foresight or the whatever the macro view of it, I'd be like, yeah, I need to be an editor. And it was, so when I was, I spoke a little before about when I was young, probably like 13, 14, had my parents' big camcorder. This is like, I didn't have editing program. I didn't have anything. I had a big VHS camcorder, and I would go and I'd shoot it. And like, I would just get whatever friends I could, and we'd make our own little James Bond movies and stuff. And so I remember thinking, there's gotta be, this is frustrating because this friend's not available and this person's there. There's got to be a way that I can do this without having to shoot it in order in the camera. Because at that point in your life, you think, oh, well, they shoot everything in order, like this shot and go to this shot and this line's here, and it's all like, you know what I mean? You don't even know editing is actually exists. And so I was like, how do I do this? How do I do this? So what I did was I took the tripod and I set up the camera and framed up on my TV screen, and then put what I recorded in the VCR and the TV, and then figured out the delay between the VCR play, the record on the camcorder, and the stereo to do the music. And I'd be like, no, it didn't work. And I would do all night. And then I started to like get actually okay with it. And I started doing it for school projects. And like, I'd always say, you know, for in high school, like, oh, you need to do a report. Oh, can I do a video instead? You know, it was always that kind of thing. Cause I always wanted to make movies. I just didn't know how. And then another moment when I got to high school, they were giving us a tour of the AV room. And I remember walking in and somebody was editing on Final Cut. This was in 1999. And it seems so long ago. And I'm like, what is that person doing? And they're like, oh, they're editing video. And it was like, I mean, cut to the world exploding. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, you can do this on a computer. How much time have I wasted pushing stop and record and play? And so at that point, I was that annoying kid who just grabbed that little camcorder, and that was in Fire. I was like, what the Firewire? That sounds so cool. And so like, I just run around and I'm like, hey, kid jumping off the bleachers, can you do that? But like spin in the air and then run backwards. And I reverse that. And like, and the thing is, and like all those moments combined, the thing that related was the fact that when I showed people, they'd be like, at the very least be like, oh. And that's what you fall in love with. You fall in love with I fell in love with the fact that you can take an idea that you have, put pen to paper, execute a couple things, and you can create emotion in people. It's the wildest power, and it's so incredible. So yeah, in retrospect, hindsight, 100%. Like those are the little things, you know. And then obviously, like, you know, when we did well at Sundance with Fruitvale, that's one of those like, oh, I did this. I still don't. What am I doing? But I guess I can do it a little bit, you know. And I find that, you know, when, you know, no matter what it is, if you like something and you're good at it and you want to get better at it, do that thing, because those are and find a way to make money, because those are the three things that will perpetuate itself to keep going and going and going. And then what was the second part of the question?
I mean, how can you start to build a career in that? Because
So,
in your case, it was kind of well, I don't really know, because you said you get involved in student projects and then you know Ryan, and then
oh, right. So yeah, so I got, so with Ryan, so I will be the first one to say I'm the luckiest person in this world to, like, you know, and after I got those opportunities, I worked like crazy. The thing is though, Ryan and I have only made 3 movies, and I've that's a lot, but I've done 10. I'm on my 11th right now. So, you know, there's a lot of other things. And so on one hand, it's, you know, depending on where you are, like meeting those people and making that stuff in your free time. You know, everybody's got different levels of resources and budget and everything.
I mean, will you start looking for kind of internships or kind of like that, or
Yeah,
trying to collaborate with anyone?
Yeah, there's plenty of internships. I know. Are you in Los Angeles? Where are you right now?
Yeah, I'm in LA. I'm studying filmmaking right now, and I'm looking for OPT and all this kind of things.
Gotcha. I would say, definitely look up the internships. There's only a couple big ones that I know of, and they're kind of tough. I would actually, because there are a lot of, you know, because the tricky part is going from, okay, like making the decision of I'm going to do this to actually getting there. And as I said before, it's a lot about the relationships that you make. And you know, we all have to find a way to, you know, at a certain point to feed ourselves and to pay the bills, but then also, you know, I think to speak specifically about editing, it's not everybody's cup of tea. You know what I mean? And there are plenty of people with cameras and that want to shoot shorts that either edit it themselves and it's not good, or and so I imagine that there's online communities like that. You know what I mean? Or you know, like, the other thing, I'm trying to think of the best way because there are a lot of indie movies that happen. I'm not familiar with any. If anybody knows them, maybe throw in the comments, but websites of people that are basically looking to just make stuff and get experience. You know, I don't know what it is. Cause so for example, right, if I'm working on a movie, even now, and you know, a lot of times I don't have the budget for someone, but someone just wants experience. You know, it's like, hey, can you find some sound effects for me? Can you give me some thoughts on this cut, kind of thing? I mean, I don't have a need for that right now, but I know that there are like less than $1 million to $5 million movies that are looking for people to work, like, you know, either do DIT or just do, like, I did a $600,000 movie that I had an assistant, but who got the credit for the assistant, but did the DIT and then set up the project, but they couldn't afford anything else. But that at least got that person's foot in the door, got them the credit, you know, associated with that. I don't have a complete, like a full answer of like a specific place to go.
I guess you have to make those contacts, and maybe, well, I don't know if it's that easy to get to like collaborate in a feature. I mean,
you know, a lot of it is being prepared. You know what I mean? And saying like, look, I know, like if you can stay up on the technology, if you can stay up on, you know, that kind of stuff, know the job, kind of, you know, I know there are websites definitely out there for stuff like that, you know, and it's, unfortunately, you do have to a lot of times take, you know, very little money. I mean, my first feature was $2,500 for the whole thing, you know, for like 8 months of work. So that's, you know, that's kind of what you got those times to you know, to kind of go through. But, you know, I think it's the best way for me to say it is, you know, you try to, here's the thing too. If there's somebody that you love, you're like, I want, those are not just I want to have that level of success, but like, I love these movies. You are the best editor I've ever seen. Or take 5 editors, write a letter to an editor every day. Say, hey, can we, especially you're in LA. Here's the thing. I will never, if somebody reaches out to me and says, hey, now I may be too busy at that point in time, but I will do everything I can to either talk to that person, grab a coffee with that person, try to give them advice or whatever. And, you do that to enough people, they may be jumping on something. It's like, hey, you know what? I can't, it's a union project, but, we do need a PA. Do you want to come on and be a PA, and, you can go boss. So the advice I usually give is, find the people that are on your level, because there's something that's so amazing about having a group of people that you go through the stuff with and build up with. And you can do that with other crews as you come and go, but have it to be working with people that knew you way back when, and you knew them, and like you're both eating ramen noodles every day, kind of, beans and rice kind of deal. And now you're doing well. There's no substitute for that level of finding those relationships. And it's not going to be the first person you meet. You may have to go meet 250 different filmmakers to find that one that you're like, we got to do something. Here we go. We're going to make this. We're going to have a blast. The other thing is reach out to bigger editors. Get, even if you're writing to most editors or any other filmmaker, even if it's not an editor, you know what I mean? It could be a producer. It could be something that you're just a fan of, and I think, and then, you're inquisitive, you meet with them, you talk to them, you show them how much of a fan you are, you might pop in their heads. Like I've heard that story happen thousands of times from people who saw a guy on Black Panther who's done all the Michael Bay movies. Like he wrote a letter to, I forget who it was, but way back, he was a kid in Ireland. Wrote a letter to a director. The director was like, yeah, why don't you come out to set? They met the right people. They did the thing, and they did it. I think history favors the bold a lot of times. And so yeah, those two levels. I think if you focus on that and try to get that going, I think you can't catch any fish without a net out there. So I think that would be helpful.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Michael, you've been with us for a full hour and a half. So on behalf of the Film Empire, HorrOrigins, and Entourage, I think everyone here thanks you for taking your time to be with us during quarantine, answering questions, and just being an overall cool guy. So everyone, let's give a quiet round of applause to Michael Shawver for being with us today.
Thanks, everybody. It was a lot of fun.